So I'm just going to move my original out of the way. So like I said, I had base coated my board with a couple coats of white, and I have my tracer all put out here. So like the first thing we're going to do is I'm not going to trace on my my tree or anything yet, because what we want to do is the background kind of looks like old barnwood, and I really like this technique because I've painted many paintings, and I know my members will know this because I like it because I think I've done a few with this background. So I'm trying not to do it to death, but I like it so much and I love the way that rustic look is. So I have done a few in the group with that background. So we're going to be painting that first. You know, when you get an obsession with something that you love so much, and it's kind of hard to stop doing that all the time, but I do really like this background. So I'm just putting my carbon under there, and what I'm going to do is they're on your pattern. I've put these little lines here to make like our planks. So I'm just going to lightly line those. I don't have to have them too dark. I just kind of want to know where I'm headed and where those planks are. So I'm just going to lightly do that. All right. So I'm just going through the pattern, like through the bulb, through the tree, like I'm pretending that those things aren't there right now. I'm just lining those 3 lines. All right. Don't mind. You see this right here? I wonder if I should confess what that is, what that little grease mark is. Well, what it is this is where you're going to get the real part of Yvette, because when I'm up here designing things, I get hungry, and sometimes dinner time goes by and then I'm really hungry, and then it's like, oh, it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and I think I gotta eat something. So that was the other night, chicken wings. So I do apologize for the little grease mark there. I do. But I was hungry, so I couldn't help myself. So I paint and I eat at the same time. So I'm just going to go over this with a pencil because they didn't come through too dark there. Anyways, that's probably some more information that you really needed to know. But I'll tell you, the air fryer can whip up some chicken wings real quick at 10 o'clock at night. I'll tell you that. So I was happy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my chip brush. So I did put that on that little list. So these are super cheap. You can get them at the buck store. I think I get them at the dollar store for like 3 in a pack or something like that. So they're inexpensive, but you want something with that kind of rough. You want that chip brush because we're going to be lining those little grain lines on this background. So that's what we're going to be doing with the chip brush. Well, cookies would work too, Cindy, but you know, the chicken wings were yum. That's what that is. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is, and I'm just going to bring my plate over here so I can show you what I do. So I'm just dipping my brush, that chip brush, in some water. And I don't want it really like sopping wet, but I do want it to be wet. And I'm just going to dip into that gray. And I want to work that in there because I don't really want like, I think that's a little wet. I'm going to take some of that water out of there because I don't want it to be all watered down. But I want to work it in there. And then you can kind of just test it. And you see when you skim it, you're just getting that little bit of, that's what you want. You kind of want to hold your brush straight up and down. You don't want to brush it like you're going to actually cover paint with anything, but you want to have that paint just kind of on the tips of that. And we're going to start at the top over here. And maybe I should use my left hand so you don't get my hand in the way. But I'm just going to skiff that brush, and I'm going to do this first board here first. So I want to start at the top again, and then we're going to just straight down. And that's all I want to do. And if I want to add a little bit up there, I can go back and do that. But to me, that's completely fine. It's actually might be even a bit dark for me, but that's okay. My tree is going to be there anyways. So if you find your paint is pulling, just put a little bit of water in your brush. So I'm going to start at the top again on that next board. Just kind of, you see where I got this big old gray spot up here? That can be fixed. We won't worry about that. And I'm just going to keep going along. And it's kind of just straight up and down. And you can fill all 4 of those. So if you get a dark spot like that and you don't like it, then you can just take some white when it dries and go over it and just tone it down a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to let it dry for a few minutes and we'll carry on to the next step. So I'm going to use a flat brush. So I just have this literally is like a dollar store brush. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You know, when you're first starting out painting, you know, you think, oh, well, I need all this stuff. And really start with the cheap brushes. It doesn't matter. You know, like it doesn't have to be expensive to start out. So I'm just working that into the end like so. And I have my line here where my boards meet. And I'm going to just kind of skip a line along that so I can put like a shade line there so I know where my board is, make it look like it's a board on a fence. And I'm just going to keep going over this way. Now we're going to do a back-to-back float on that. Hi Connie. Hi Marty. So I'm going to just continue over here and keep going on my next one. Now, did I lose my board? It's hard for me to see. I'm going to just make one right here because I can't see my pencil line anymore. You could always trace yours back on, but you know what? I'm going to wing it because we kind of know where it is. And then I'll do one over here. And I'm just kind of pulling that brush with it, kind of not straight up and down, but just a little bit on an angle and just pulling that straight down. If I could get some paint on my brush, I would do that for you. Straight down like that. And if it gets a bit too dark, just put a little bit of water on your brush and pull it back down again. And I just have water in my brush right now, and I'm just kind of pulling alongside that to maybe pull a little bit of that dark gray off there. So what we're going to do is kind of like a back-to-back float on this. So we're going to do the same thing, but right up against this line that we started here. So we're going to go on the other side of it, and I'm going to see, because sometimes I have to do things at a funny angle so that I don't get in the way of your vision, but I'll see if I can do it without too much hassle here. So that's that, and we'll just carry on across the board. Is everybody following me so far? All good? Am I making sense at all? Everybody's quiet. You're mesmerized with my painting skills. All right, Beth. All good. Awesome, Wendy. Thank you for your encouragement there, ladies. I'm Telling you, sometimes you got to wonder when things go silent. You think, I don't know if you're still there or if you're, thinking this woman is crazy. What is she talking about? Awesome, Colleen. Thank you, Marty. Got the thumbs up for Marty. All right. Are you ladies that are my members? Are you watching from the membership group, or are you in the in one of the other groups watching tonight? Yeah, Krista, what's up with that? You're being quiet, quiet tonight. All right, so those are my four planks. So that's basically how you do your background, just to make it look like. Now, one thing you can do, like I said, with that dark spot up there, because it is kind of bugging me a little bit, watching from the membership group. Awesome. Anita. All right, so I just put a little bit of white in my brush, so I can just go back and kind of skip over that and tone that down a little bit. And you can do that for all of these. If like you find that they're too dark, you can just kind of tone those down a little bit with some white, and then they won't be screaming at you like some of mine were. I think because I was talking and doing it at the same time. Apparently I can't do two things at once. So we'll just tone these down. So you see how that just kind of brings it down a little bit. That's all good. Like I said, our tree's going to be on here, so it's not going to be a huge deal. All right. And I think I'm going to try and mute my mic because I want to dry this a little bit. You can tell me if this worked, if you hear this screaming of this blow dryer, but I'm going to try and mute it and see if I can stay a little quiet for you. So I think that worked. I think you didn't hear anything, but the biggest problem I had was it blew all my stuff on the floor. Sorry for that. See me reaching all over the place. Okay, so you can hear me again, I hope. So I'm going to put my pattern back on here, and we're going to transfer that tree on there. And get started on that. So I'm just slipping my, and I don't think I can get the whole thing. Oh, maybe I can. Yeah, I think I can. So what we're going to trace on here, I'm just going to grab my little stylus. Perfect. Thanks, Colleen. I'm going to just outline the tree. Now, I'm not going to worry about these tiny little sprigs where our pine needles are going to be. We don't need to put those on right away. So what we're going to do is put on the main tree. We can transfer on the bulb, the Christmas bulb, and the tree stand. We're going to put that on as well. So all of these little tiny things, don't worry about those right this minute. So we're going to just transfer on this main tree. And the tree stand, we're going to put that on as well. I'm not going to worry about my lettering right now. I'll do that last. Once we get our tree squared away, we can add that. The tree doesn't take too long to paint, so pretty quick. So I'll just get my Christmas bulb on there. And I never transfer things perfectly round. I'm terrible. I try to just straighten it up when I paint it. I'm just going to bring this one little sprig up here at the end here. Kind of know where I'm going. So I'll just check. Yeah, see, I can't see my tree. So I'm going to go a bit darker here. Not sure why it's not transferring for me. Lordy. Might be too wet under there. Maybe I didn't dry it enough. These are the things that happen when you're doing a live. Always. Okay, you can draw freehand. Go for it. Absolutely. I'm going to grab my trusty pencil for here for a second because my transfer paper, I see the indent, but I can't see the actual tree. Bear with me, ladies. Bear with me. Hi, Judy. It's good to have you. First time watching. That's great. Where in Canada? We're all in, like, we're not all in Canada, but I'm in Canada. Some of us are in Canada. Whereabouts are you from, Judy? Yeah, it's, you know what, Beth, it's because I'm, you know, doing this live. So it's like I'm trying to speed up the process. But yeah, definitely wait until yours is dry. Just have a little too much moisture on my board, I think, for this to. But I think I have it so I can see it enough. I'll just fill in some of that with my pencil. Kenora, Ontario, 30 minutes from, oh, so up north. Yeah, we're kind of down by the St. Lawrence here River. We're down in the southern part, southeast, I guess you'd call us, eastern. So I'm just lining these so that I can see them a little bit better. Maybe you can see them a little bit better on the screen so that I know where I'm going to. Once we get this tree based, all will be well in the world. I know it. I can have one comes up here like this. All right, good, good. So on your supply list that I posted, I put use a light brown and a dark brown. So I just kind of wanted to make it basic like that because not everybody, I didn't want everybody to rush out and think that they had to purchase the exact paint that I was using because honestly, you don't, you know. Light brown is light brown. You can use any brand you want. It doesn't really matter. I can tell you what brand I'm using. I can tell you the colors that I am using. If you do have those colors at home, that's great. The template is still posted, Anita. It's on the post on the page. So if you need the actual link for the template, you mean? I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me, but the link is still on the page. So if you need to get the template, you can. So I'm using actually milk chocolate, and it's like a Decor brand, but like I said, you can use any light brown that you have. Yeah, I'm using milk chocolate, Diana. This is the actual color that I'm using. Yeah. And I'm going to grab a round brush. So I'm going to use, I think I'm using a 3. I have a 3 in my hand. Oh, this one you mean? Pull over the original? Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to, your hand drawing. Okay, I'll try and be, oh, wait a minute. So I'm using milk chocolate for the tree trunk. I'm using a mix of white and milk chocolate for the tree stand. So I'm going to mix just a little bit of white and the milk chocolate together to do the tree stand. I'm also using, I believed I used alizarin crimson. Nope, lied. I used cranberry wine for the Christmas bulb, shaded with a bit of black. And the pine needles, I used plantation pine and Irish moss. Are you good, Anita? I'm going to move it. Hi, Lynn. You found me. All right, I'm going to have to move it because we can't sit too long and make it. Awesome. Thank you, Anita. All right, so I'm just going to block in the tree trunk with the milk chocolate. Now, this may take a couple of coats. It always, it normally does, just to get decent coverage. So, we'll get the first coat on the tree trunk, and then we'll let it dry and move over to the Christmas bulb and get the first coat on that while the tree is drying. It's kind of what I do. I bounce back and forth just to keep moving so we don't have to wait for paint to dry, because there's nothing worse than waiting for paint to dry. Yes, cranberry wine is the color I'm using for the Christmas bulb. Like I said, as long as you have a light green and a dark green, honestly, it doesn't matter. Hi, Anita, how are you? Long time no talk. So I'm just quickly pulling in this brown on here. I'm very good. Thank you, Anita, for asking. Anita is a wonderful artist too. Maybe some of you know Anita. She has quite a few pattern packets and publications out there in the world. All right. Okay, so we'll just let this dry, and then we will, I think what I'll do is I'll continue on with the tree stand, actually, and I'll get it based. So what I'm going to do is I'm just literally just dipping into each of these colors, the brown and the white, just to make like a fawn color or a tan color. It doesn't have to be any particular shade. I just want it to be like a light tan. So I'm just going to block in the top parts. Now these side parts that drop down on the boards, I'm going to do those with the milk chocolate, but the top parts of the board I'm going to base in with this fawn color. All right, just grabbing some more, mixing up some more there. All right, so once I get this top parts of the board done, I'll just dip back into that milk chocolate, and I'll do the side edges of the board. So you can see now, like, the contrast. I hope you can see that. Anyways, you can see that it's a bit darker on the sides of the boards. Almost there. And that'll help too with, I know shading can be a little intimidating for new people. They usually panic, right, Krista? They panic when they hear the word. So this will help with not having to have the stress of shading that so much, because it'll already be a little bit darker. The tree was milk chocolate. The base I literally just put my brush in the milk chocolate and the white and mixed it together to make like a fawn color. You could even use fawn if you have fawn, would work just fine. But if you don't have that color, then you can just mix a little bit of the brown and white together. For the top parts of the boards, I'm just putting a second coat on these. And then for the sides of the boards, I'm just using milk chocolate again. I don't mean to stress you when I say it, but shading is it's a learned thing. It's, you don't learn that skill overnight. It's like anything else. If you are, learning to play guitar, you're not going to pick it up once and now you know how to play guitar. It just doesn't work that way. It takes practice. Just like with anything else, you have to practice your craft, and it gets better over time. All right, so I'm just, now that I think my tree's dry because we were messing around down there with our tree stand, I'm just going to put that second coat on there while we're here and we have it out. Now we have that color out. We might as well use it so it doesn't dry up on our plate. Don't want to waste it. So I hope I'm trying not to block your view, but it's kind of hard, but I think you can tell that I'm just basing the tree trunk. I'm not trying to do anything too fancy here. I made a flub. You can use wet wipes too, but since it's my painting, I can do that. So you can do that to your painting too if you want to. But you see, that's the thing with having your face on camera, because now you're going to see all those little things I do that probably shouldn't be seen, but I did it. So I'm sorry. It happened right there on camera. Hi, Linda. All right. So we'll get that first coat of red down on our Christmas bulb too. And I'm using, again, cranberry wine. You can use any red you want. It doesn't have to be this one. Let's grab my... No, this will be, a true testament to if I can get this circular or not. We're going to try our best to keep it as round as possible. Well, this will also take a couple coats to cover. I like using the darker reds, the more opaque ones, just because reds can be a challenge. Sometimes they take several coats to cover. You can use a little trick and paint some gray under on a base coat, and it'll make your reds cover better, or even green. If you paint that color first and then paint the red over, it will alleviate having to paint so many coats of red, but I didn't do that, so I'm just putting the red right straight down there. Yes, Colleen. I'm not even going to say that I am the best at shading. I mean, I've been painting for many years too, just like you, and you know, it's still not. Hey, Quinn, can you come get your dog? Sorry, my dog thinks he wants to come in and paint. He always comes in and opens the door. I have the door closed so that I can block out all the noises, but Clyde thinks he should come in and partake, I guess. And here he comes. Oh, puppy dog. Anyway, I guess he's lonely. But yes, it takes practice, and like I was saying before the dog interrupted me, it takes, you know, practice, and I still probably aren't perfect at it either, but I mean, it is what it is. You just keep going at it. All right, so we're letting that tree or that bulb dry. Now, for the top part of the Christmas bulb here, I know he did, Krista. I'm sorry for that. Krista comes to the door to pick stuff up, and Clyde like jumps at the door and scares the life out of her every time. Every time. I think he sees her coming, and he just waits until she reaches down to pick up her things and then just goes crazy barking. Anyways, so this top part here, you can use some marigold. I am using some metallics, actually. If you have like a gold paint, I'm going to use the DecoArt metallics, just because I had it here. But I mean, marigold will work. Any of the yellows, if you have antique gold, you can use that one too. It's all good. Doesn't really matter as long as it's a yellow shade. But I'm going to put this gold on mine. And get that base down there, so that's good. All right, and our tree is dry. So I am going to shade a little bit on this tree trunk, just along this inside edge with some burnt umber. So that's your dark brown. And I'm going to grab my angled shader. And I'm going to grab maybe some clean water, because I don't like to shade anything with dirty water, because it will put that murky stuff all over your painting. So I'm just going to get some clean water. Oops. Excuse me. And what I'm going to do is I have my angled shader, and I'm going to just dip the corner in there, and I'm going to just work that into my brush. I might need a little more water here, because this plate actually soaks up my paint. I'm just going to work that in there like that, and then just dip my brush in water again. And what I'm doing is, and I'm going to see if I can flip this up a bit, maybe, is I'm just laying my brush kind of on its side, and I'm just pulling that on like so. So I'm just using like this edge, the side edge of my brush, kind of like in a flat motion there. And I'm going to do the same thing all the way up this inside of the tree, just to give it a little bit of contrast there. Hi, Brenda. Oh yeah, Charlie Brown, yes, who doesn't, you know, that's part of everybody's childhood for sure. Yeah, it does make you remember the good old days for sure. I think I still have to say that I still will watch these cartoons even at my age. They never get old, you know what I mean? Like they're timeless. So I'm just kind of shading along that inside edge. Now, if you find this method intimidating, like literally, I'm not getting too technical with this painting. I'm just kind of taking some of that paint and pulling along this one inside edge. And that is pretty much all of the shading we're going to do on that. Oh no, I'm sorry. We can actually put some light stuff on the other side just as a little highlight, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right, so down here for the bottom of the tree stand, I did shade around the outside of the tree trunk, and I did shade along these edges of the board on the inside, not on that dark part, but on the lighter part on the tops of the boards. I did do a little bit of shading with the burnt umber. So I will do that now, and I did just kind of skip along there, along that edge. I mean, I'm not doing like a super neat kind of perfect shade. I just want a little bit of color on there to do a little bit of a contrast on that, just to give it some shape. And this isn't meant to be, you know, perfect painting by any means. Just put a little bit of that down there, like so. All right. And that's pretty much it. And I'm just going to put a little bit around the bottom of the tree trunk, that where it rests on the board. Just put some of that brown paint there, and kind of along right where that tree rests on that board there, you can throw some of that brown down there too, like so. So now you can see the definition a little bit better on that tree stand down there. We're going to do some outlining with our Posca pen too, so we'll let that dry for a few minutes and then we'll do that. So I think my Christmas bulb is somewhat dry, so I'll put another coat on that, and while it's drying, we'll get started on some pine needles and the rest of those little twigs that are coming off of our tree. We'll line those in. Yes, that's right. A little bit of white and milk chocolate mixed together was the base, yeah. For the base of the tree, yeah. And milk chocolate for the tree, that's right. All right, so we'll let that Christmas bulb dry a little bit there, and now I'm going to grab my liner brush. Now I use a 10-0, just a tiny fine liner here, and I'm going to go into my milk chocolate, and I'm going to put some water in there just because I want it to be a bit inky, because it's easier to flow off your brush, your little tiny liner brush, when it's inkier, when it's thinned out. So what I'm going to do, now you don't have to worry about, you can trace on your little tree twigs however you like. If you want to go back to this line drawing and put this, I can because mine's wet, but if you want to trace those out exactly how I put them on there, you can do that. I'm just going to freehand my little guys here because it doesn't really matter to me where they go as long as I have some tree twigs there. And I mean, this can, and I say it all the time in our membership group, it's this can be very satisfying, you know, just to draw little twigs all over the place, because it's freehand and you don't have to be all particular about it. You can just put those little twigs on anywhere and draw as many as you want off of there. It's quite satisfying for me to draw these because and you can just go on forever. Like, I mean, you can just keep drawing twigs. It just, because trees grow in every different direction, so it doesn't really matter too much where you go. But you just have to remember that this is a Charlie Brown tree, so you don't want it to be too full, you know. Hi, Debbie. We're still working away here. It's all good. We're down to the pine needles, so we'll be down to the pine needles soon. As soon as I get these little twigs on here. I think that's good. And so I have a few over here on this side. The template is, I'm not sure which page you're watching from. Are you watching from the Craft Corner group or are you watching from my main business page? I don't know what your name is because it just says Facebook user. So I'm not really sure who I'm talking to. But the template is posted on both of those pages on one of the posts. If you want to snag it from the post on there, you can still get it. I didn't take it down. It's still there. And then we have this little twig here that's holding up our Christmas bulb. So I'm just going to paint that one in. If you find that your paint isn't flowing too well off your liner, just dip it in the water and add a little more water to it. See, that one got a little thick, but that's okay. We can clean that up with our pine needles. All right, I think that's pretty good. And then I'll just finish these two down here. And it's probably, if you look at my original, they probably are totally different in direction and where I went because I didn't use my template. I just did it. So, you know, they're probably going to be similar, but not quite the same, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Let's see where I took these ones. What direction did I take these in? I brought one up here. Alrighty. And then we have this last little one down here. Okay, so we have all of our little twigs in there. And now we're going to go ahead and start painting some of those pine needles. So first thing I did, I'm using the two colors. I'm using plantation pine. I'm using Irish moss. I'm going to use the plantation pine first. And I'm going to use my liner brush just like I used for the twigs. And I'm going to add some water to my plantation pine and make it a bit inky, just the same. Sorry for the noise. The dog is milling around in here. So I'm just going to lift this up so maybe you can see. And I'll just do this one close up so you can see what I'm doing, perhaps. So I'm just taking my liner brush and I'm just pulling out little lines on one side of that pine needle. And then I'm going to reload my brush. Let's see if I can get you back in the camera shot here. And I'm going to pull those pine needles out like so down to the end like that. So can everybody see that? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes. Yes, ma'am. I can see that. I understand what you did. Everybody can see that because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint all of these the same way. So I just want to make sure that you understand that that's how I'm doing it. So I don't have to hold that up there the whole time and try and juggle it. So I'm just going to turn this a little bit and I'm going to quickly pull those pine needles in. And they don't have to be precise, you know what I mean? Like I do them pretty quickly. I did that first one a little slower just so you could see what I was doing, but they do paint in pretty fast. And I just kind of go over all of them with the plantation pine first. And I'm going to start up. I'm going to work my way back down here. I'll go up here first. And just reload your brush with your inky plantation pine as needed. And don't worry if some of your pine needles get too thick or what have you, because you're going to go over them again. Once we finish putting down the plantation pine, you're going to skip over some of that Irish moss on there too. So you can, if you got some of these that are too wide, you can, you know, mask that a little bit with the Irish moss and, you know, thin those down because you're going to paint that Irish moss color over top of these. And you can kind of fix them up a little bit, or you won't notice as much if you do get a thick one. Sometimes I do too. If I don't have enough water in my brush, I'll get some that are a little bit too wide, but I don't sweat it too much. I just keep going and fix that up later. All right, so I'm just working my way, putting my little sprigs on here. All right, we'll straighten that back up. So that one's done up there with the plantation pine. So I'll just keep moving around. You know, these might take a few minutes to, because we have a few little twigs here. Maybe that's a good reason not to put too many twigs on too, because you got to put all these little pine needles on. So bear that in mind when you're painting out your twigs. The more twigs you have, the more pine needles you have to paint. Now, mind you, you could leave some of your twigs bare. Like, I'll leave that one there. I'll just leave that as a twig. I won't put anything on that one. I'll stop talking so I can get these on here a little faster. I'm just going to turn my board because it's hard for me to reach. That's right, Ella, you're right. It's Charlie Brown tree. It's not supposed to be perfect. You're exactly right. He's supposed to look cute yet a little desperate, you know, because he's only got a few little twigs on there. So, you know, it's supposed to look like that. All right, we're getting there. So I'm just going to keep turning so that I don't put my hand in wet paint. I'm sorry for all the messing around with the board here, but in order for me to reach it and not stick my hand in wet paint and smudge all my little pine needles, I have to do what I have to do. So I'll flip it back up here upright in a second. And I think I'll put a little something just on the end of that one. And you don't have to go up the whole way of the twig. I'll just show you that one right there. So I'll just flip this around. So you see I just put like a little tiny bit on the very end of it. I didn't go up the whole length of it. I just kind of gave a little bit of something on the end. So it still looks a little sparse there. I'll put a little bit on the end of that one. Getting a little more water. I'm starting to get a little thick there. Oh, thank you, Ella. That's great. Thank you so much. All right. And I'm not gonna put a whole bunch of on these ones. I want them kind of just on the ends because this is kind of just like the little end that's holding this bulb. So I'm just gonna put a few little sprigs on the ends here. And that's that. I think I want to put some here though. I missed this guy. I'll leave that one. Maybe I'll put just a little bit on the end of that one too. All right, so I'll just put just a couple down here just for fun. All right, so now that we have that dark color on there, I'm going to take that Irish moss and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. We're just going to go back over where we went. But with this nice, this color is so awesome. I love this Irish moss color. It's a really bright kind of, it's not neon, but it's pretty bright green. I really like this one. And it's great contrast with the plantation pine as well. So I don't know if I'll bring it up again so you can, so let me get focused here. I'll just show you. So we'll just go over. You want to still be able to see your plantation pine under there, but you see how much different it makes it look with that little bit of lighter green on there? Can y'all see that? Yeah, it's like a lime green. That's right. Thank you, Debbie, for your help. I was a loss for words. All right, so I'm just going to turn here a little bit, sorry, and I'm going to start up here at the top and I'll put in some of these lighter green ones. I don't want to cover up all of my plantation pine color or my dark color. I just kind of want to mix these in with those just to brighten them up a little bit. And it makes such a huge difference with the two colors in there. If you want to add a little white on yours too and make it look like there's snow on it, you can do that too. I didn't do that on mine, but you can if you like. Again, there's no rules. You can make it yours and do whatever you want. Alrighty, so just bear with me while I work around this and put my little pine needles on. Yes, Colleen, it is probably one of my favorite colors too. Irish moss is the best. Very often I'll use the same greens all the time. If I use greens, my girls know that I'm plantation pine, Hauser medium green, Irish moss. I tend to use those three colors a lot. It's okay, Carolyn, if you want to see how I did this background, it will be on the replay. You can go back and watch it. As soon as this video is over, I just lost feed on this. Can you guys hold up just 1 second? I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I'm going to find out. Hang on. I just lost feed on the, just going to go back in here and see if it connects again. Isn't that something? Enter Studio. See if I can get it back. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. pop out of there. It says I'm in there, but I can't see. Well, isn't that a bugger? Hold on, I'm so sorry. It says I'm backstage. I don't know what that means. Silly thing. I'm so sorry, guys. It's so hard for me to see upside down, too. Trying not to get my hair in the paint. Why? For heaven's sakes. Can you guys still see both of these? You can see both? Just let me know you can see me painting as well, because I can't see it on my... Wait a second. Now I can see it. Can you guys see it now? Okay. Is it back? You can only see me? I just added it back to the... Is it back? Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's hope that stays there so we can finish this. Oh, my goodness. That was stressful. Oh, I was like... I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It just went away. I was like, what? I didn't touch anything. I swear I didn't touch it. Oy, oy, oy. Thank you. I'm glad you can see it again. Like, I mean, it's great that you can see me, but I know you really want to see the painting. And it's like, if I had gone away, that would have been fine. Breathe deep. It's all good. Thanks, Colleen. Oh, pressure. We're so close. We're so close. You know, how'd you go and do that? I don't even know why that did that. So weird. Like I said, if it lost feed on my face, I would not have worried about it. We could have just carried on. You don't need to see me. But, wow. Okay, so I'm just adding my green to my light green to the last few over on this side. And then we're going to put a little highlight shade on that tree trunk next, I think. And then we'll move over to our Christmas bulb. So like I said, I don't sweat too much over these little pine needles. I just do them pretty quick. They don't have to be all precise. Just throw those little lines in there. All right, so I think that's good for that. So we're done that. So I'm just going to take my shader brush that I use to shade this side of the tree. And I'm going to grab some of that milk chocolate and white, just mix it together for that little tan color again. And I'm just going to put a bit of that on the opposite side of the tree to the dark shade. So we're going to highlight this side with this lighter shade here. Just a little bit up that side. And I'm just kind of scuffing it on there. I'm not being crazy precise with it. Just giving it a little something, something. Got up in some gray there by accident. All right, so that is good. So I'm just going to check my original, see where we're at. Okay, I know what we can do next. So with that gray, I'm going to move down here to the bottom and we'll get that on there. And I'm just going to use the edge of my brush. I just dipped into my gray and just kind of put that on my brush like so. And I want to just bring some of this gray out, sort of just like that to the side, just to make it look like the tree stand is actually kind of sitting on a surface. Just a little bit of something there. That's all I really did on that bottom edge, was just because it looks like it's kind of floating out in midair there. So I just added this, you know, a little bit like that, just to make it look like it's sitting on something. So that's basically that. I'm going to grab my round again, and I'm going to put another coat of gold on this little top part of my Christmas bulb. And let that dry while I'm fixing up my Christmas bulb. So I took some black and I just shaded along the bottom edge of my Christmas bulb. And I'm just dipping the corner of my brush. I don't want a whole lot of this on here, just because black can be pretty frightening when you shade with it. So all I want to do really is just put a tiny little bit around the bottom edge of my Christmas bulb here. See, I have a little bit of murky water there, and that's exactly why you need to use clean water for your shading, because it will show up on your painting. So try and ignore that I have not used overly clean water for this shade line, but I didn't. It happened. The next thing I was going to show you is my true red. So with the darker reds, I always do kind of like to dry brush with the true red. Like this is an old true red color. This, I think this is a Deco. I can't remember what this brand is. Delta, I think, Ceram Coat. But this, I've had this paint forever. It's an old bottle. But I have that brighter red. So you can see this is the red that I used. And now I have this brighter red. So I want to just dry brush a little bit of that brighter red onto my bulb. And how I do that is I use just a stencil brush. I'm just going to use a regular old stencil brush that I got from the dollar store, I think, or Michael's, maybe in a pack of lots, you know, a whole bunch. So what I do, and this might be bizarre for some people that have never watched me paint before. Okay, sorry, Cindy. I'm trying to finish it up here, but I wasn't quick enough. So I dry the paint onto my brush just because I put it on my hand so that I can feel that it's dry. It's just, you know, some people might think that's weird, but that's how I determine if it's dry or not. And I just rub that brighter red on top of that red. So you can kind of start, and I'm going to put another layer. And once you layer this up, it'll start looking more like the original here. You can kind of see where you can see that brighter red here. So once you know, continue to put maybe 2 to 3 layers of this brighter red on there, it'll start to appear. So there you can see it's, maybe you can see that, but I can't see it, but I can see that it's getting brighter. And you can just keep adding until you do see it and you're happy with it. So there, you can kind of see that now on your camera shot there. So I'm okay with that much, but if you want to just keep adding layers of that, you can. I just do that for a little bit of contrast. And then I'm going to use some white, and I have a different kind of shader here. or a stencil brush. This is a lunar blender. These are great for dry brushing too. Princeton makes these. And I just use a different spot on my hand for the white because I don't want to put that in that red because it'll make it pink. So my hand is usually covered in paint by the time I'm done. And I'm just going to dry brush this top bit, kind of like a little glare mark there to make it look like my bulb has a little shiny spot on it there. So I'll show you the original. So that's what I did there. I just kind of dry brushed a little bit of white on that. And you can do that as well, kind of layer it up. You don't want to put too much in one layer, I find, because then, you know, you might have too much and then you're going to have to paint over it because there's too much dry brushing paint on there. So you kind of want to just lightly layer up here, and you can just keep layering up until it's the brightness that you like. So I'm happy with that little glare line there. So I think that we are about at the outlining stage. So what I outlined on this was not the whole tree. I didn't outline the whole tree. I outlined the wood pieces here on the bottom. And you can also see, you see where I scuffed that gray? I did add a little bit of white to make it look like there was a bit of snow on the ground. So we can do that in a second here. But I just outlined, I'm going to move this up. I just outlined with my Posca pen that little stand. And then we're going to do a little bit of lining on that little gold thing there on the Christmas bulb. And then we're going to be ready for our words. So that's that. So I use Posca pens. I don't know if any of you use these paint pens. I don't have, yes, my hand, I know. That's what it is. It washes off. It's all good. These Posca pens are thebomb.com. I don't have shares in the company. Wish I did, but I don't. I'm not endorsing them in any ways for profit. I just love them. So you do too, Anita? Yeah, they're the best. So I'm just going to outline my little tree stand here. And this will straighten up any of your edges that you kind of were wonky on your tree stand, because mine weren't like completely straight, I'll tell you that, but they will look much more finished once you line them out here and a little straighter. Okay, so I'm just going to, sorry I have to turn, but I need to get the right angle on this. Yeah, like these pens are great. I typically just use, you can get them in every color of the rainbow, really, but I just use the white and the black, you know, black to outline and white to do little highlight lines sometimes. That's about all I use them for, but again, you can get them in all kinds of colors. But I just find that they don't clog. They're really, really good. Yeah, these are paint pens. They're called Posca. I don't know if you can see that. But they come in all different tip sizes too. This is a 0.7, I believe. But you can get them like thicker too. Like they come in all different ones. So I'm going to outline this little top part of the bulb. So I just outlined it like that. And then these two little wires, I outlined those in black with that Posca pen. And then we have these little, that little part on the top here of the, you know how it looks like the little claws. So I just put 3 dots and then a line straight down from those dots. So I'll just put my 3 dots here. Kind of just spaced somewhat evenly out there. I'm going to bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. So 3 dots, and then I just took a straight line down from those to the top of my bulb. That's it. That's all I did. And I put a little bit of a lining around just at the base of my tree where it kind of meets the, where it met the stand. I did outline a little bit there, but that's it. All right, so I'm going to, actually what I'll do is I'll transfer on my words, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not the greatest at this. I am terrible at freehanding words. I just am. No, the Posca won't burn it. It won't disappear. That's because it's paint. It's actual acrylic paint in that pen. It won't rub off when you bear thing. The size of my pen was a 0.7 millimeter pin type end. Yeah, no, they won't disappear. Like a marker might, you know, if you have a marker that's not, it's not permanent, or even sometimes the permanent Sharpies will smudge a bit on you, but these won't. Okay, so I'm terrible at hand lettering. Gonna tell you that right now. But I figured I could have made a stencil for this and made it all pretty, but because it's a Charlie Brown sign, I thought, you know what? I don't think the lettering is supposed to be perfect on this. So it was right up my alley. I didn't have to be perfect. So worked out well. So what I'm gonna do is transfer on my letters with my trusty carbon paper here, and then we're just going to go over it with the Posca. I'll put that snow on the ground after I finish transferring this because I didn't want to have wet paint on here when I was trying to transfer my letters. So I just literally went over this with my stylus. I'm wondering if I'm straight there. Kind of looks crookedy. Yeah, whatever. It's all good. I'm just going to go for it. I'm doing it. Again, I don't think it's supposed to be perfect. It's a Charlie Brown sign. It's going to look like a kid wrote it. That's what my thought was, because it sort of does, because I'm not really good at this, though. I'm a stencil girl. If I'm going to do lettering, I'm going to do stencils all day long, because my OCD will not allow me to do hand lettering that I'm going to look at all the time. And that's just the facts. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I've seen so many of these lovely letters, like painters that do all these beautiful letters. I'm envious. I am. So it's not me. It hurts my heart to know that I can't do it, but I just am not good. So anyways, we'll do the best we can with what we got over here. So I'm just getting these last few letters, and then I put the Charlie Brown on the bottom here too. You gotta have Charlie's signature at the bottom. And this, we are so dangerously close to being finished, ladies. We're just going to line this out with our Posca. I thank you so much for hanging with me. We've been on for about an hour and a half, so that's actually pretty good timing for a paint tutorial. So I just have my black Posca again, and I'm literally just going to trace over these with my black Posca pen. So. Now, if you own a Cricut and you want to make a stencil for your sign, or if you don't even want to put lettering on your sign, that's fine too. You don't have to. But if you want to make a stencil, by all means, do that. You don't have to use my lettering. Yay, Krista, you gonna paint one of these? It is cute. I like it even with my my silly lettering up in here. I still like it anyway. You see how great these pens are though? If you had to sit here and use a fine liner and black paint, you'd be here for a while. But I mean, seriously, these paint pens are amazing. Worth every penny you pay for them. A bit of red speck there. And to reload, there's a little spring action in here. You just push it down and it will reload your tip with the paint. Somebody told me too that you can actually refill these. I have not tried that yet because I haven't had to. What does the wording say? The wording say it's not what's under the tree that matters, it's who's around it. Signed, Charlie Brown. That's what it says. And I'm doing this kind of quick because I'm just trying to get this part done for you all. I think you got the idea. There. So signed, Charlie Brown. But isn't that cute? And I have the white Posca as well. Same size, same pin type end. And on my original, I put like a little white, you can see I drew a little white highlight line on there. You can do that with your white pen if you want to. So I just kind of put a couple dots and a little squiggle down there. You don't have to, but you can do that with your fine liner and your white paint too if you want to put a little highlight line there. Now for the snow, I'll put a little bit of that white paint on my brush. Got some brown mixed in there. I'm trying to get just white. And you can kind of just mix in a little bit of that white, kind of brush sideways just like you did with the gray. And just put down a little bit of that. So that's that. We did it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you paint yours. And by all means, pop your picture up onto my business page or in the Craft Corner group as well. If you're in that group, pop it up there. Oh, thank you, Cindy. It's tonight, actually, at midnight. The deadline to sign up for my membership is midnight tonight. And I'll just pop that link up for you again, just in case. There it is. In case you do want to sign up. So you can screenshot that. I can also pop it into the comments here for you. Just one sec. So it will be actually, I'll pop it into the comments just because it's easier just to click on the link and use it. You're welcome, Diana. You're very welcome. So just give me one sec here and I'll pop that link up. All right, I think it's coming up there. There you go. It just popped up there. So you can just click on that. And if you want to sign up, that would be awesome. So if you do, tonight, midnight is the deadline to sign up to get into the membership group. And we will not open up again until the spring. So if you want in, tonight is the night, ladies. Thank you, Marty. You're welcome. You're welcome. Did y'all get that link? All good? Anyways, it'll be there. It's on the screen if you want to screenshot from your phone and write it down somewhere or pop it into your browser. Do I put any kind of varnish on? If I'm using this inside, I don't normally. I just leave it. But if this were for outdoors, yes, I would varnish it to death, because any kind of wood would not fare out well outside. It just doesn't. So normally for inside. Now, having said that, if you do want to put a little bit of varnish on, you can use like Deco Art Duraclear. This is just matte varnish. Sometimes putting one layer of varnish on here brings out your colors really nicely. So if I put my varnish over this red, it would really pop. It does change the brightness of your paint colors. All right. Well, ladies, I also wanted to say really quickly, if you're still on here, we have tomorrow we start this tutorial is upside down. Sorry. So this guy, we're starting him tomorrow morning. So there's still, you have tonight until tonight to get in on this one if you want to paint this signboard. Sorry, it's kind of long. He's like 36 inches long. But if you want that link, I can certainly pop that one up. And we also have our sleigh kits that are ending November 24th. I think we put the cutoff up there because we need time to ship them out. So we have two. We have this kit. You get the handmade wooden sleigh. You get the pattern packet with the line drawing, all of the written instructions. You get a link to the video tutorial step by step, just like this one we just did. It'll all be step by step. You get a link to go there, and you get the rope for the sleigh as well. So we have the truck and tree, and we also have, let me get them up here, my little Nomi guy. So if you want either one of those kits, just let me know and I can pop those links up for you as well. They're also on the Craft Corner page and on my business page here if you want in on those. So again, midnight tonight, membership closes. Hope to see you in there. So thank you so much for coming and painting with me tonight. Your payments will come out if you sign up today. They'll come out, which is what, the 19th? They'll come out the 19th every month. So the day you sign up on, they will come out on the same day every month, if that makes sense to you, Cindy. You're welcome, Beth. All right. Great. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you for painting with me. And if you have any more questions, by all means, alternatively, I'm going to pop up my text number. Some of you already have it. Some of you are already on my text list. If you have any more questions between now and the closing of the Paint Party Playground sign up, just text me there. You don't have to text Tree. You can just text, hey, Vet, or whatever, and I can get back to you. And you can ask any questions there, and I can just text you back in real time, just like regular telephone. Okay. All right, ladies. Fun hanging with you. We'll see y'all soon. Bye now.